and welcome back to the Being Grounded podcast. We are on a mission to help you redefine success, become the best version of yourself, and find peace in this fast-paced world. Hi, my name is Molly.
And hi, my name is Fleur.
And in today's episode, we have a very special guest, if you have not been able to tell. Welcome, Leighanne. Welcome to our podcast episode.
So this is quite exciting because we actually met Leighanne at Tam Kaur's book signing. I don't know if you would have seen on our Instagram. If you follow our Instagram, we went to Tam Kaur's book signing for her new edition of her new book that just came out. And it was not, we didn't know this was going to happen. We literally went and we ended up meeting Leighanne in the line, and she was telling us all about her YouTube channel and how she does ASMR, which is something I love because I don't think I've met a lot of people, or actually I don't think I've met anyone in my life who actually does ASMR, and I think that's so cool because I've been obsessed with ASMR since I was a little girl. I always used to think it was one of those things that was cringe or that people would think was weird, and I would never tell anyone about it. It was like my little secret. But honestly, I just think it's so cool that what Leighanne actually does, and she's been doing this for 2 years now, is she sort of like forms and she shapes self-development with ASMR. So for example, she may do a YouTube video where she's talking about, you did a recent video about anxiety, didn't you? And
yeah.
That's really cool, like how you will just, it's very unique, I feel anyways, and I've seen this with your subscribers as well who've said this when I've watched your lives. They've always said that they feel like they're not just coming to you for that feeling of being comforted and being safe and being seen, which is what your mission is, but also they're taking away that level of security in themselves and confidence in themselves that they necessarily wouldn't have been able to achieve from just any ASMR channel. So welcome, Leighanne, to the podcast. I hope that you enjoy this episode. And yeah, let's get straight into this episode where we're going to be talking about anxiousness around love and self-love and healing from a breakup and becoming the best version of yourself and the most confident version of yourself while navigating love. So let's get straight into it.
I'm so excited for this episode, Leighanne. I feel like you've got so much value to provide. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm really excited to talk about this very interesting and deep topic that I think a lot of people will value from learning about, and I feel like a lot of people will resonate with this topic. So.
Definitely, especially because we just had Valentine's Day, so we're in that season of love and renewal. So let's get straight into section 1 of this episode, which is all about healing after a breakup. I think this is quite important because no matter what stage you might be, for anyone that's watching this, whether you've never been in a relationship before or you have been, or you're still in one and you're navigating that, or you're going through a breakup, I would love to know, Leighanne, what your experience with love has been in your life and feelings of anxiety from coming out of a relationship, if you have had one, and how you learnt to gain that self-love back in yourself and find that sense of self-worth after being in a relationship with someone.
Yeah, so my relationship with love and my perception of love was very skewed and distorted from a very young age. And I'm going to go into a bit of my backstory so you guys can get to know me a little more. But I grew up in a very dysfunctional, chaotic family. I'm the youngest out of 4 siblings.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, there was a lot going on, a lot of the time, a lot of conflict, a lot of arguments between my siblings and my parents. And speaking of my parents, my dad was always working. He was the very emotionally unavailable father, but I do have a lot of love for him now. My mother, on the other hand, we've always had more of the unstable relationship, and she is very, to this day, struggles with her mental health, very mentally unstable. And she's been diagnosed with a few things, including BPD. And if you know about BPD, then you know that people with that personality disorder can be very unpredictable. And it's like you have to walk on eggshells around them.
Yeah, I know
from
full
a very
well.
young age, yeah. You kind of just learn to walk on eggshells around other people. And that means you're not really being your authentic self. You're shying away from speaking your mind and from being open to other people. And that's how I was for a very long time. I was very isolative and very, very shy, very quiet for that reason. And that reflected in my relationships, in my teens, and through my attachment style, which was when I was a teenager, when I did the test, I was disorganized attached, which is like a combination of avoidant and anxious. So while I wanted to be loved so badly, I was also afraid to let people in and to be vulnerable with people. So that reflected in me attracting very toxic people and not having the best relationships with both friends and partners. But I actually got into a relationship 3 years ago with this person who I would definitely say was the love of my life.
Aww.
Well, at least my very first love.
Yeah.
But we got out of the relationship back in November 2025, and that's something that I just want to emphasize I'm still healing from. Like, I'm not by any means like this healed, I know everything type of person. I'm still learning along the way, which I think is
still going through it. Yeah,
exactly. But anyway, now that I've been out of this relationship, it's like I'm coming home to myself. Even though in this relationship I was still very much like into personal development, and we was actually on and off for quite a bit, for 3 years basically. And the first time we broke up was actually the biggest catalyst for me to end up where I am now, very committed to myself and very committed it was like a positive trigger in a way. But every time we got back together, I was still showing up for myself and I was still learning about myself along the way. So that brings me to where I am now, still trying to heal from certain things, still trying to be my best self. And I can confidently say that even though I don't know what my attachment style is now, I can confidently say that I am the happiest and most stable I've ever been. So that definitely counts for something. Thank you, guys.
I'm very proud of you.
Wow.
And honestly,
Ditto.
I think that from someone that has grown up with someone like in my family who also has BPD and knowing what that's like, I actually have never even said that on social media before. And the fact that you so openly said that is so like, not only just brave, because I really don't think it's talked about enough. I really don't think people talk about BPD and not just of what it's like for the person that has to live with that, but the quite likely damage that's caused to the people that have to live in the same household, because you've got so much responsibility of trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing all the time so that they can be happy, but then the sense of sacrifice that comes with that, because you lose yourself and you lose your identity in that. And I would really like to know from someone that has also had a parent having that, who sort of allowed herself to get into a toxic relationship because it felt like it was a normalized thing, how you learned not to walk on eggshells in a relationship, or how you learned to not walk on eggshells, not just in a relationship, but with friendships as well, when that's something that you've been taught to do in your own household.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's still something that I'm actually actively working on, because every now and then I feel like it's my norm to just go down the path of staying quiet and not speaking my mind, and just rather being very passive aggressive about things. But how I've tackled that to this present day is basically just doing a lot of shadow work. Like, if you don't know what shadow work is, for anyone that's listening, it's basically like a form of journaling where you bring your unconscious part of yourself, aka your shadow self, to your consciousness. So your shadow self is like all your repressed emotions and negative so through doing that and doing specifically a lot of inner child healing work, it has allowed me to be more honest with myself and to get used to the actual act of just speaking my mind. Because when I was younger, even though I was more on the timid side, there was that part of me that did not care about what other people thought, because we're not born just like thinking about what other people are thinking about. Like, we're not born thinking that other people's opinions are end all be all. Like, we don't care about that stuff when we're younger. So it's about like coming home to that version of yourself and realizing that nothing bad is going to happen to you if you do speak your mind. And if something bad does happen to you, God forbid, then that was never a reflection of your character. That was never like anything to do with you. Yeah, so that's one way that I've been able to tackle not walking on eggshells, basically, when I'm talking to people, whether it's platonically or romantically.
I love that.
You've learnt so much about yourself, and like you know everything on a more deeper level, and obviously with that knowledge also comes love, right? Because when you start to learn why you do certain things, or even as to why you process things the way you do based off of your past traumas, based off of your past experiences, you like tend to form a sense of love for that child, and you form a sense of deeper love for that person, which is you, that you can then go into, you know, relationships, friendships, whatever it is, a lot more stronger, because you kind of know you have that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, it does.
Yeah.
And I personally really love shadow work. I've only done it once in my life, not like literally once. So basically, when I first came out of my own relationship about 2.5 years ago, I dedicated myself to doing shadow work every single day for about 3 months. And it was
wow, that's dedication.
yeah, it was dedication. I had like this little notebook, and they were only relationship questions. So I was only answering questions about my relationships in my life, and I was trying so hard to just dig into why I do all the things that I do. And it was so painful, actually, because when you haven't ever done shadow work before, you're having to try and navigate with the fact that each time you answer a question, you're unlocking an answer that you've never known. So it's like you don't know what you're going to answer that question to, because you're trying to remember memories about yourself that you've purposely blocked out. And so every time I would be answering a question, it would take me probably like half an hour actually to think about it. And I would just be sat with myself with my candle lit, always at night, because that's when I'm most self-reflective. And I would just try and like look back into why I think and feel the way I did. And once I sort of navigated that with relationships, I then went deeper into my own self-worth. So an example of this is I really wanted to navigate why I hated my nose so much. And I was like, okay, what is the first memory I have of me realizing that actually I don't like my nose? And it was when I was on a bus and I was surrounded by my friends, and this guy who I was very close to just said as a joke, it wasn't bullying, it was just a simple joke, that my nose was bigger than other girls, like I had a bigger nose than other girls. And he just said it as a joke. He didn't even mean it as like I don't remember the exact context, but the way he said it, it was meant to be funny. But I didn't take it as that, because I'd never really deeped it before then, but I had remembered having a few thoughts about it. And then from that point onwards, I was almost convinced that that would mean that everybody else thought the exact same thing, even though I didn't necessarily always have people telling me that. It's like, as long as you have that one person that's telling you that thing about yourself, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's a partner, you will then convince yourself that just because one person has said that thing to you, that you then need to go the rest of your life believing that that is accurate to be true about yourself. And shadow work is basically implicating these moments with yourself where you can try and navigate why you feel and think this way about yourself. And that is not meant to be aesthetic. I think people like to try and make it aesthetic, but it's not. It's therapy. It's a form of self-therapy, and it's scary. And there have been several times where I've been journaling and I've just burst into tears, because I've just thought, like, I've never realized that that's how deep that self-hatred goes towards myself, that I would allow myself to be in these kind of relationships with people that were so damaging to me and my self-worth, because I just didn't care about myself. And I love the fact that you, Leighanne, are a very self-reflective person. I can see that from not even having known you for that long. The way that you present yourself on social media, like for example, I tapped into one of Leighanne's lives recently, and you were talking about how you didn't feel proud of yourself because you hadn't achieved all the things that you'd wanted to do in that week because you were in your luteal phase. And I love the fact that you were just being so open about something that might seem quite small to someone else. Like, for example, I think a lot of content creators wouldn't feel the need to come online and say that, because it feels like something you would just keep to yourself, because it's like, you know, is anyone going to care about this, or is it even going to make a difference? And yet you came online and you chose to share that with people, and that made them feel safe. And it like made me reflect even that you can genuinely share whatever you want to online, even if it doesn't feel like it's going to help anyone, because it's always going to help someone else who's going through the exact same thing. So I really respect you for that.
That's so sweet. Thank you
So true.
much. Oh my god.
I definitely feel like a lot of relatability has kind of been lost with social
Yeah.
media, where it's all now aesthetic, look perfect, you know, your healing has to be perfect and self-development has to be perfect, where it's not perfect. The whole point of it is completely the opposite, because you're trying to level up. And when it comes to leveling up, when it comes to trying to be the best version of yourself or whatever, that takes serious work. That takes looking at all of your truths and everything that you've pushed aside, you know, put to the back of your mind, because the only way you can ever go forward is by looking back. And it can be hard, like really hard. And I remember doing this one thing, which I'm actually going to share because I feel like it might help people. However, I would recommend taking the advice that was given to me, which I did not take. So I was reading a book called, I believe it's called Manifest by Roxy Nafusi. I think it was this book, I can't remember. And she basically said this, like, one type of therapy or whatever, you know, for inner child healing. And she said, I wouldn't recommend doing this by yourself, you know, I'd recommend doing it with a mental health professional. Did not take that advice. And what you do is you basically visualize yourself, like your current self, going up to your child self at a point where you know, there's a really bad memory or a moment in time where this younger version of yourself is like struggling, and you basically go up to her and you hug her and you tell her, look, everything's gonna be okay, and you basically like guide her through this difficult time in your mind. And it is very sad, like it's very it's very triggering if you do it. However, it is very, very liberating as well. It's very liberating, and it's really good to help you let go of things. But it's, again, that's one of those things which, you know, it's not a beautiful type of healing. It's not pretty, it's not, you know, it's not aesthetic. It's very raw and it's very emotional, and that is sometimes what is needed to help you move forward, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And to help you learn about yourself.
Healing is very, very messy. It's a very messy process, and that's something that I try to just speak about, share on my platforms, to let people know that it's okay to just feel like I feel like it's been said on a lot of other different like creators platforms, where, you know, it's okay to feel, and even just like textbook sort of coping mechanisms that your therapist will share with you. There's a reason why people like that always say to just let it all out and to not pull it inside, because to be vulnerable is like a very beautiful thing, and it's something that allows you to stay connected to your humanity. At the end of the day, we're all humans, so why wouldn't you want to feel connected to that side of yourself, you know?
So that brings us really nicely onto section number 2, which is all about finding love. And I want to ask you, Leighanne, how are you navigating life right now? Are you letting love come to you? Are you trying to search for love? Also, what is your stance on chasing love? Because I know a lot of people will always talk about, you know, like, don't chase, or let them come to you, you know, chasing, you know, detachment and all these other different things. And I really am interested to know where you stand on that, you know, like, how do you navigate finding love? If you want to find love, how do you navigate that?
So currently I am actually taking a year off of dating and talking stages, which is inspired by Tam Core.
I love that.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Tam Core, like, she's a personal development content creator, and she took a year off of dating after like back-to-back relationships for a few years, and I just felt very inspired by that, because before this relationship that I was in, the last relationship that I was in, I was actually in like many different talking stages for a very long time, so I haven't been single properly. So I thought it would be really great to just take this year off of dating so that I can be single. So I'm not actively looking for love right now or looking to talk to anybody, which just gives me a lot of time to continue showing up for myself and learning more about myself. And also just like this year for me is my year of just focusing on my career, which is something that I didn't really think about before, because back then I was the type of girl that would chase and the type of girl that did make her partner or situationship her whole life. And I obviously don't want to be like that anymore, because that did not serve me. And it's also just not really a good message to send to other people out there. Like, it's not a good or inspiring thing to just chase after men, or chase after anybody for that matter, because you are literally signaling to yourself and to the universe, or whoever you believe in, if you believe in anything, that they come before you, which is not what you not how you want to navigate your own life. The key word there is your life, because like, when you pedestalize other people, it's very like, you're like the last person that you think about, obviously, when you pedestalize other people. And you don't like, you can't really put so much energy into yourself, because putting energy into other people already drains that energy, if you know what I'm trying to say. So anyways, going back to the original question, I'm not looking for love right now, but if I am within like the next year or something, then the way I would go about it is, this is like, I'm gonna go into a visualization here, because for me, I'm more on the spiritual side, and I definitely do benefit from visualizing my ideal life. And this applies to other things as well, like your career, just where you want to be in the future. But in this case, for relationships, how I would navigate it is, I would just think about what my best self would like to feel, how she would like to feel in her next relationship, which is not being the one that obsesses, not being the one that abandons her routines and her healthy habits for another person, and just making sure that I pour into my own cup first. So how I do this currently is, my love language is acts of service. So in order to give myself acts of service, I like to have my weeks planned ahead of time, so it just saves me less thinking basically throughout the week. So when I plan my weeks out ahead, it signals to myself, to my subconscious, that I am important, and I'm already like
your
booked
time's
and busy.
important.
Yeah, I'm priority number one. I'm booked and busy, so therefore it's not that I'm, emotionally unavailable for other people, but it means that you just said that I'm priority one. I also just want to touch base upon understanding that a relationship, particularly a romantic one, is just one small part of your life. It doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean anything, but it just means that when you know that you have things to tend to, like your career and your own hobbies and interests, it reaffirms that a relationship is just meant to add on to your life, and that it's not something that completes you.
It takes them off a pedestal, doesn't it? Because like you said, like, you put yourself first. Like, your life's so important that it just takes them off the pedestal.
I agree with that, and I think it's very important to have a year where you're focusing on yourself. I unintentionally did that. I didn't, like, obviously I wanted to be single, but I didn't plan for the length of how long I was going to be single for. I didn't think that it was going to be now 2.5 years. And although in that 2.5 years there have been moments where I have spoken to people, I have had at least a year between each person where I've genuinely not spoken to anyone out of choice and just focused on myself. And if someone came into my life, I was never seeking for anyone. It was always someone coming into my life. I would always give them the time of day to be able to see if that person was right for me. But at the end of the day, if they aren't, I never chased for it to be, because I truthfully believe that you, like, at least now anyways, that there are so many people out there for you in the world that are right for you. I don't think that we just have one soulmate. I think we have many, and I think that they're in different countries. I think they're all over the world. Like, we can't say, oh yeah, I have one soulmate and they just happen to be in England. Like, I could have one in China, I could have one in, I don't know, in the Middle East, I could have one in America, and I think you might never meet them because you might never go to these places, but we always have multiple people that are right for us, and we'll come across the ones that won't be right for us in order to realize what is right for us. And I think not only is it so important to take time by yourself so that you can dedicate that time towards yourself and healing and understanding where things went wrong in your previous relationship, which a lot of people don't tend to do, but also you're allowing yourself to realize your standards, and the more time you spend single, the more standards you'll have, and the the more you'll want, because you'll realize that you don't want to give away this time to just anyone. Like, I'm not going to just get into a relationship with just anyone if I know I can be so happy by myself. Like, it doesn't make sense. I would rather know that that person is 100% right for me and work through with that than give it away just for the sake of not being alone. Because in my opinion, I'm not alone anymore. And I think it takes so much strength to get to that point. I think the first year of me being single was very difficult because I was consistently feeling alone, as I was the only one who was experiencing the thoughts and feelings that I had. And that's very difficult. But I would like to know, because especially as someone who was in a toxic relationship, when I was in stages where I would be talking to people, I would notice that it would flare and trigger parts of myself that I can't necessarily heal until I'm either talking to someone or I'm in a relationship. Because I think you can't heal all trauma of relationships if you're not navigating relationships. You can't do that by yourself. You can't know what's going to trigger you. Yeah, you can't know until you're talking to someone. So I would think, oh my God, I'm healed, I've moved on. And in the instance of where I would be talking to someone, it would more be that I wouldn't be able to navigate something that isn't toxic, that I would be wondering, do I deserve this? Like, why is this person being so kind to me? They're going to mess up, or I can't trust loyalty. I would just be doubting every action and everything that they would be saying. I would be waiting for something to happen. I would be walking on eggshells. I would be thinking that I wasn't deserving of it. I would be romanticizing the bare minimum because I'd never had the bare minimum before. So like the smallest things would mean the world to me, and trying to understand like maybe that shouldn't be the case, otherwise I'm not going to be able to see the bigger signs. So how do you deal with that anxiety or any past traumas that you may have had in relationships, not even like romantic ones, but ones with your family or friends? Re-explore that self-worth and learn to love being alone with your own company, but then also be comfortable with the idea of not being alone, and with the idea of allowing someone to come into your life if you've struggled with relationships in the past.
I think my way of doing this is actively and consciously challenging those thoughts that we have become very used to. So for example, if somebody doesn't reply to our texts in a very like timely fashion, it's if you've been or are anxiously attached, it's very easy to just think that, oh,
they don't
care. They don't like me. Yeah, they don't care about me.
They hate me. They
exactly,
like someone else. Yeah, it's the same thoughts.
Yeah. So when it comes to experiencing those thoughts, I like to just observe them, basically, and challenge them as well, and understand that in this moment I'm safe. Like, just because this person is not texting me does not mean that I'm not a great person. It's not like when you actually like allow yourself to be logical about it, you start to understand, oh wait, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
it's not about you.
Of course, like, yeah. And if you were kind of like to reverse the roles, like say you're having a very busy week, you don't like, the last thing you want to do is reply to text. You wouldn't want somebody to pressure you into answering your text. Like, if you kind of switch the roles, you have a lot more empathy and compassion, and also actively challenging those thoughts by reminding yourself that you are safe. This doesn't mean that you are unlovable. This doesn't mean that you're undesirable. It's not a reflection of your worth and your value as an individual. And the more you do that, the more you just become accustomed to that thought. But I also really want to highlight how it is very important, whilst positive affirmations are very beneficial and have significantly impacted my life in a very positive way, I want to also highlight that pairing that with actions is very important. Because you wouldn't, like, if somebody was very, like, if they were just to be like, oh, you're so beautiful, I love you, but then their actions are showing otherwise, you would think that this person is, like, all talk, right? So you wouldn't do that to yourself. You want to pair the words with action. So basically, this is just like a random example. In times where I was feeling anxious, just in general, whether it was about, like, relationships or just social anxiety or something like that, I would affirm to myself that I am safe and that I'm doing well and just all these kind things. But then I'd also challenge myself to feel uncomfortable, to sit in that anxiety and understand that the anxiety is actually just neutral, and it's just a story that I'm adding onto it that's making it spiral. I feel like that can be applied to relationships and your love life too, with challenging those very negative thoughts.
Also, like, take advantage of this as well. I feel like if, as an example, let's go with the example, you know, that someone's not texted you back or something like this, understand like why you feel so triggered by it. And also though, another thing I will also say too, just thinking about this as well, which also I was also linking on to what we were talking about earlier, is have like a list of standards, you know, like, and also stay true to those. Like, if you know that something, for example, for me personally, I am very big on communication, and I want to get to know somebody, you know, I'm very big on that. So therefore, like, I obviously in a relationship would prioritize communication and speaking and stuff. So if I know that them taking 2 weeks to reply back to me bothers me, obviously don't then settle. However, also in that as well, which also links on, and this is why it's such a tricky thing, isn't it? Like, when you actually really deep it, it's quite a tricky thing, because then I also think about it in the sense of, okay, let's say they don't reply to you for like, you know, 24 hours to a few days. I also think sometimes, like, you never know what internal battles this person's facing. Like, you never know internally what's going on in their life. Like Leighanne said, you know, like, they could be really busy, and again, the last thing you want to do after a busy day or a busy week is message someone, especially if you're not 100% sure on that person. However, again, I feel like this is where emotional intelligence and, you know, communication then comes into play, right? Because sometimes I feel like it's nice to hear, okay, look, I don't really see this going anywhere, thank you, bye. Then, like, goodbye. Like, never ever speak to you again.
It's not,
you know?
asking for a lot, in all honesty. I don't know why. I don't know why some people just can't do it.
It's just
literally
the bare minimum.
this is what I'm just saying. It's a bare minimum, right? Like, a reply is a bare minimum, and if you don't want to have anything to do with that person, just say. Like, I've had it before. Yeah, like, I've had it before where, you know, I mean, it's just not gonna work out, whatever. The guy's just said, look, like, I don't see this happening, I'm sorry. That's fine. Like, that just helps you move on.
It's respectful.
You know, like, it's respectful to the person's time as well, because again, like, when you stay true to those lists of standards, when you say, not even like standards, but also just things that mean a lot to you. So for example, again, like I said, for me, communication means a lot to me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, like, words of affirmation, I'm very big, like, I want to hear
my love language,
these things. So yeah, that's my love language. Yeah, exactly. So like, when you have those things, if the person's not meeting them, of course it's going to make you feel anxious, of course it's going to make you feel bad about yourself, especially if that's always been your past experiences. You know, like, all your past experiences have always been, you've been ghosted, have always been, you know, like, you got excited about someone, they kind of matched that, and then they just kind of disappeared. Of course it lives in your body, it's, you know, it's stored in your body. But when you base your worth off of their reply, or when you base your worth off of what they think about you, or whether or not they like you back, you lose yourself. Like, you really lose yourself, because like Leighanne says, you know, you pedestalize them, you put them above you. Whereas when you have a list of things that are really important to you, and my friend said this to me the other day actually, she said you should write out a list of your priorities and stick to those. So write out a list of what is your main priorities in life. Is it your career? Is it your mum? Is it your friend? Is it what is it that is like really important to you? What are your priorities? For me, for example, I could say my job, my YouTube channel, my social media, my friends, in no particular order, of course, you know, like my friends, my family, and I'll stick to those list of priorities, because that's what I should be investing my time in. And a person coming into your life should just add to it, you know, it shouldn't take away. But again, I feel like a lot of these lessons are very karmic, and sometimes God or the universe, whatever, puts these people into your life to teach you something, so you can learn, so you can stop repeating the same karmic lessons. And you know, I really, sorry, I'm yapping now.
No, it's so true. Like, I agree. This is a podcast. That's what yapping is for. That's why they invented them.
This is why we started one, right?
Exactly.
This is another thing that I really realised, and another little karmic lesson potentially, is that sometimes if you've been ghosted before and someone comes into your life and they do it again, or you know, it's not really vibing, it's not really going well, sometimes that's your lesson for you to show the universe who do you prioritize more? Like, do you put yourself first in a situation and realize, look, like, I'm not going to be investing my time in something that's not investing back in me? Or, you know, because at the end of the day, sometimes we get really addicted to the dopamine the person gives you. Sometimes it's not even really about them. You know, we're so used to like people breadcrumbing us, giving us a bare minimum. And there's another quote as well. Sometimes you obsess over people who aren't actually really right for you. The people who are right for you, the people who are investing your time, you know, investing the time into you, giving you the love that you deserve, giving you all the things that, you know, they tick off every single thing of your list, right? They're genuinely like really good for you. You don't obsess over them because they don't leave gaps, they don't leave a fantasy for you to try and fill. Whereas the people that do the opposite, the people who breadcrumb you, who, you know, just come back and give you and flirt, and then they leave, and then they come back and, you know, back and forth like this, they leave gaps, they leave things for you to fill. So when they do text you, it's like a massive dopamine spike. Sometimes it's not even really about them. And I think that, again, it's just something that you have to learn with time, and it takes time, and, you know, everyone's lesson's different based off of your past experiences, based off of your trauma, based off of, you know, your past relationships in romance, you know, and each lesson will be different. But once you realize, am I going to put myself first? Am I going to put my needs first and my standards first, whilst also prioritizing love? Or am I going to pick this person who's barely scraping it, who's breadcrumbing, who's like doing fuck all basically? What am I going to put first? And when you realise that, that's kind of when your lesson
has been learned, yeah.
You know, I mean.
That's so true. Because I feel like there's a level of stability and security that comes with being around the right people. Like you said, like when you're around the right people, whether like they're just friends or they are your partner, you wouldn't feel the need to obsess over them, like you said. And it's just like, yeah, like you just feel safe, but not safe in a way that's like keeping you small, but you just know that everything's okay. There's that reassurance, there's that stability.
Yeah, because there's no need for you to like obsess over the relationship if you know it's all fine, right?
When like a lot of people say that when like after they've healed from a certain toxic relationship and then they are ready to find a person again, this person ends up being like aligned with them and really good for them, but they start to feel bored because there's not those dopamine spikes and because there's not that chaos that they were used to, you know. So it just goes to show that what you said is just like very true.
Once again, like repeat repeat the loop, the cycle. I don't know, something like that. Do the same thing, the cycle repeats, whatever.
If you've got the
lesson,
like men coming into your life, then it's because you've not learned the lesson.
You've not learned your lesson. Yes.
It will keep coming back to you until you actually
you get the point.
It takes intuition, you know, like intuition, your inner teaching. It takes your intuition to, when you tap into that, when you start realizing things, like you start getting messages, you know. I've had dreams, it's just an innate feeling of like, okay, this is not the right person, or this is actually what's going on, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of, again, one of those things, when you start listening to yourself, when you start focusing your energy internally, then you start realizing, okay, this is what the lesson is I need to learn, you know. Like everyone obviously will have different opinions, everyone has different perspectives on things, but ultimately you're the only one that knows you the best, if that makes sense. You know your lesson the best because you've lived your life the most. I think that kind of brings us really nicely onto something else I wanted to ask you, which is all about dating yourself, you know. What is an example of a solo date that you have been on recently? How did you do it? Like, what did you do? Can you run us through the whole day? And how did it also help your audience?
Yes, absolutely. So the most recent one was actually Valentine's Day. It was my second time celebrating Valentine's Day in my solitude, and basically, like I said earlier on in the podcast, I love acts of service. So in order to show this to myself, I planned and booked the whole day ahead of time, because if I was in a relationship, I would want reservations.
All done.
I like spontaneity, but I'm not trying to be spontaneous on
not on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like on like anniversaries, birthdays, Valentine's Day. You only have to do that a few times a year. Like I don't think that every single date has to be be planned. I mean, I'm a planner, so unfortunately I probably would be
too.
that person, but I would have it planned, time and place.
Yeah.
I love spontaneity. I'm like, let's just do whatever.
There's two different types of people.
I love it though. Yeah, everybody is truly different.
Yeah.
But I actually made it a theme for this Valentine's Day that just passed to actually give back all of the love languages to myself in some way. So
That's so beautiful.
not only did I like plan things ahead of time, but I also booked myself a massage because that's like physical touch in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took myself out for dinner to spend quality time with myself. I also have like a list of positive affirmations that I recite to myself every morning and night, which is like words of affirmation. And what's the other love language?
Gifts.
Gift giving.
Gifts.
Bought myself flowers and chocolates and stuff. And I just, obviously you don't have to go all out, especially like depending on your circumstances, but you know, it was Valentine's Day and I wanted to feel my most loved. So yeah, I
as
did
you should.
Thank you. I did a bunch of these things for myself just to really signal to myself that I am worthy and that I do deserve these nice things. Like, if I really was in a relationship, this is just the level of expectations that I would have.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's important to show that to yourself. And again, you don't have to go all out all the time. It literally, like, the small things matter as well. Like, just you being kind to yourself and eliminating negative self-talk from your daily life is really impactful actually in the long run. And also just taking things slow as well, like not rushing to go to work, to go to school, just prioritizing your well-being by taking the time to just be present is something that I really value as well. And in especially like when I'm taking myself out on solo dates, it's really important to just spend that time talking to yourself in your mind, because it's such a beautiful thing. You get to learn more about yourself in that time too, and you're also again practicing presence.
How do you
True. And also like
sorry, you go first.
sorry I was just gonna say I had a thought. I was gonna say, and like when you set that standard for yourself, you know, when you know that you can do that for yourself, if someone comes into your life and isn't even doing the bare minimum, you think, well, I can do all of that for myself. Why settle?
Exactly.
The thing about learning to love yourself, the thing about putting this time and effort into yourself is that people that don't, they aren't even attractive to you anymore. Like, you can't go back from that. Like, now you know what it's like to feel this love and to give it back to yourself. That's like, why would I settle? Why would I accept any less than that now? So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
How do you like get comfortable with going to a restaurant by yourself? Because I've gone to a concert by myself, I've like gone on a plane by myself, which are arguably so much scarier than just going to a restaurant by yourself, but for some reason
I haven't done those things.
I just can't go to a restaurant by myself. Like, there's something, and I think it's because when I was younger I had really bad social anxiety, and I mean I have really bad anxiety now anyways, but social anxiety to the point where I never ordered my own food, my own drinks. And the one good thing that I got out of my previous relationship is that my ex kind of put me into a position where he said, like, if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to order it for you in a nice way, obviously. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And each time he would do that, it kind of forced me to be comfortable with doing it. And eventually I got to a stage where I was able to like order my own coffees or order my own foods and get to a stage where I could do that with other people, let alone do it by myself. So how did you like navigate especially on Valentine's Day, like you're probably surrounded by couples, like how did you deal with any judgment that you might have felt was thrown your way, even if there wasn't, with the servers, with asking for a table for one? Like how did you do that? I really want to know.
So there's a couple of things that I want to say. First thing is starting off small. So when I first started solo dating, which was back in 2024, I would honestly just go to very
coffee
like,
quiet
quiet places. Yeah, coffee shops, and also cinema dates. Like, it's not the same as a restaurant, obviously, but it's like, you know, you don't have to talk to people. You don't.
I've done that myself. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. So just working your way up to things, and I also would just stick to local places at first, because a really big thing for me was was busy places. I really did not like those places, but then I challenged myself to work my way up to those places. So this also doesn't have to do with restaurants, but back in that summer of 2024, I would go to shopping centres because a lot of people are usually there. And when I felt more comfortable in my local one, I would just like head out to ones that I've never been before. And with that, like, I just feel like it's one of those things where you wake up one day and you're just like, oh, it doesn't actually matter to me anymore.
Yeah.
But it's because you're conditioning yourself to those surroundings and to what makes you feel uncomfortable. The second thing that I want to say about just dining out in a restaurant is making sure you look and feel your best, as in, okay, maybe not, you don't have to feel your best as in like, it's okay if you feel anxious in those moments, but like when you do look your best, like it does have a really big impact. So I would just prioritize making sure that my hair looks really nice, that I'm in an outfit that I feel comfortable and confident in, and that, you know, I've spent time doing my makeup, and I just think it makes all that difference. I don't know, but before I would feel very anxious as well, but then when I started dressing for myself, it's like, what do I have to be anxious about? Like I know I look good. I know I'm the shit, you know? So it kind of just is another like perspective shift.
I love that. I'm definitely going to try it. I've done the shopping centres by myself. I've done the cinema by myself, and ended up making a friend at a cinema, which I'm still friends to this day. I've pretty much done most solo dates you can go on. I've gone to coffee shops. I just haven't gone to a restaurant. And I keep telling myself, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm just so scared. So
You should just do it. You should just bite the bullet.
I think what I need to do
really
is like casually go to a pub and bring my book with me. And I think just do it not like having to dress up or anything. Just do it like that. Something small, and then lead myself up to the point of like dressing up. I just admire you so much for that, because I just think it's so brave to be able to do that. And there were probably so many people there that were looking at you and thinking, she is a powerful, self-loving woman, which is so true. And that
also as well, I feel like not many people like care though.
Yeah.
I don't know,
that is
just
true, to
playing
be fair.
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
or they
like, I feel like no one
they wish that
really
was them.
even looks at you.
That leads well to the last section of this episode, which is all about navigating self-love in relationships, or even like whilst you're still single. So if we were to like split this into two, with the first part being about self-love in relationships, how do you think you would navigate? I mean, you probably did this in your previous one, but how did you go on solo dates, or how would you go on solo dates even whilst in a relationship? And as well as that, how would you explore self-love when your partner doesn't necessarily do it themselves? So I think obviously you would want to be with someone that does care about themselves, but not all people go to the extent that maybe all three of us go. So how would you navigate what that would be like, or any feelings of judgment that might arise, or if you were to feel embarrassed by it, even if that person did not think it was embarrassing, but you yourself was like, or what if that person thought of this or that? How would you navigate that?
So when it comes to self-love in relationships, I want to stress again, like, the impact that routines and planning have on me. I know not everybody is kind of wired to be a big planner, which is completely okay. But for me personally, I would text my boyfriend at the time, on Sundays, which is when I'd plan my week, what days are you free? And then we kind of just like discuss what we're going to be doing, which would also just give me a lot of time to think about myself and to think about what I want to do. So that's why I think it's very important for me to have that structure, because it allows me to like actually see in front of me, okay, when am I free and when can I schedule this in for myself. As for self-love in a relationship with somebody that may not be as like deep into personal development as I am, or as we are, I think it's really important to prioritize detachment in those moments, because when you understand that like you can't really control what anybody else does or what they think or what they say, it's like there's an element of freedom that comes with that. Although it feels like I haven't been in a relationship for a very long time, I do remember just my partner at the time wasn't very into self-love, and I would actually feel very like annoyed, to be honest, because he was like
that's so relatable.
Because
why don't you love yourself?
Exactly. Especially
why don't you see what I see?
Especially since he didn't have the highest self-esteem and confidence in themselves. It's like, oh my God, I wish you could see what I am seeing right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's so frustrating.
I would get really annoyed, but then at one point I just had to realize that, like, I'm not your mother.
You can't force someone into that. Yeah.
But even if I was your
God,
mother, like, I can't force you either. Like, nobody has that control over me. So why would I?
Should I have that?
Why would I have
someone?
that?
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I agree with that. I do think that there is like a certain level, like I definitely did a lot of mothering in my previous relationship, which was so damaging to myself because the things I had to say were just so stupid. Like you should be able to do those things by yourself, put it that way. And I think that was damaging for me because it put me in my masculine. I was planning everything. I was the one that was doing all the, like, if we ever went on a date, it was me that was sorting it all out. I was just the masculine. I was wearing the trousers in that relationship. And because of that, when I'm like navigating dating now, I can't help but be in my masculine, even though I'm trying so hard not to be. So I'm relearning how to be in my feminine, how to be okay with allowing the man to actually take control and to be the one that is wearing the trousers in the relationship, and to be okay with the fact that I don't actually need to plan everything, and that it will be okay if I don't, and that things will happen even if I don't. And also understand that yes, you can be with someone that doesn't necessarily involve themselves in self-love, but if you are with someone who really, really, really hates themselves and the world and everyone around them, it's not always the healthiest option to be with a person like that, especially if you are a optimist like me, especially if you have a lot of sunshine energy and you really just love the world and everything. It could get to a stage where it's draining. And also, I could say with my previous relationship, it got to my camera's dead. Battery exhausted. Yeah, that's me. That is exactly how I felt. Okay, sorry if you're watching the visual or if you just heard that noise, my camera just died, so now you're gonna have to stare at a black screen. But it would get to a stage in the relationship where I would be told that I was being too much, that I was this, that I was that, and it made me lose my sense of self. And when I came out of that relationship, people didn't even know who I was because I was just a shell of myself. I was so depressed. Those 3 to 6 months of my life were just spent, I don't even know it. Like, just looking back at it, it's just painful to think about it because I just didn't know who I was. I'd shedded all parts of myself. And over the past few years of being single, I really have gotten myself back. And even at places like work with my colleagues, they see me. Like, I asked my colleague the other day, I was like, what flower would you see me as? And she went, yeah, a sunflower. And everybody always says that to me, like, so I am a sunflower because I'm so like bright and
it's true.
I've always got something good to say and I'm very positive. That wasn't who I was in my relationship because that was taken away from me. And I think you have to be very careful. That's not to say that you can't be there for your partner, and that's not to say that you can't support your partner, of course, but if they are taking away that self-love from yourself, you have to understand, like as Leighanne has said several times, you are your main priority and you have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Even with friends as well, I feel like that applies to, like, you know what I mean? I've had friends in the past where literally like so negative, like never has anything positive to say, and it gets to the point where you realize, you know, you leave the interaction just like drained all the time, and you have to realize, is this a kind of relationship that's serving me, or is this a kind of relationship that's hindering me?
You need to protect your
know?
peace at the end of the day.
100%. That leads me on to my next question I wanted to ask you. How would you navigate dating when you have decentered from men or decentered men from your life? And how would you also find that lover girl energy back again once you have decentered men from your life? You know, how do you kind of balance the two?
So for the first question, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really have a concrete answer with that because it's something that I'm still trying to do. I mean, it's not like I'm, you know, chasing men, but it's like I do miss being in a relationship. So it's like, because I miss that, it's like one of the things that plays on my mind. So I can't give like a very concrete answer with that as of yet. But for the second question, I feel like it's very important to continue showing yourself that love in small ways and big ways consistently. whether that's writing yourself a love letter, buying yourself flowers, booking that class that you've wanted to go to, those things keep the love alive. And even when you're single, like it's really important to reflect on the things, or rather the treatment that you would want to receive if you were in a relationship, or even like in a friendship, like those standards that you have for yourself, those expectations of like healthy relationships and healthy love, like you would want to give that back to yourself in order to continue romanticizing life as much as possible. And that keeps me personally in touch with my lover girl, because it's like the love never dies. So I constantly just recognize it in different environments, in different ways. Yeah,
in different
exactly,
ways.
You get it. Yeah,
love is all around in so many different
forms,
ways. I love that. That's very true.
So on this podcast, me and Fleur have a little tradition where we like to ask each other what's one thing we're going to be doing this week to help us stay grounded. And of course, we have this very special guest on this week. So Leighanne, what are you going to be doing this week to help you stay grounded?
This week, I'm still in my luteal phase, so I think it's really important for me to take things. Yeah, exactly. It's really important for me to let go of the rigidness of my normal routine if I was like ovulating or something, and to allow myself to take things slow. And that just looks like me, letting myself have that extra rest if it needs to be, and not giving myself so many tasks this week, which would overwhelm me. So yeah, just taking things slow, basically.
I love that. You're in touch with your cycle. You're in tune. I love that. What about you, Fleur?
This week, I'm doing a lot of prep for my birthday next week. So I've got lots of celebrations throughout the entirety of March. And in order to be able to like prep myself for everything that I need to do, I've just been working a lot. So in all honesty, my idea of being grounded this week is getting my money, working hard, which is not really grounding, but the moments where I do have time for myself, what I really like to do is I'll come back after work, for example, so like yesterday, and then I'll light all the candles in my room, I'll put my like mood lightings on, and I'll just journal. And I find that just spending time with myself and journaling and just getting all the thoughts that are out onto the page is really important for me. And I've been journaling now consistently for like 3 to 4 years, and it has been quite literally life-changing for me. I'm currently using the Obsessed with Growth Time Core journal. I'm on my third one right now. I'm halfway through my third one, which is pretty insane. And I think that it's very helpful for me, because I'm able to like, what I do is I'll reflect on the day, and then in the current goals section of it, because there's a current goals section, I don't always necessarily do a current goal. I more do a reflection of the day. So something that I noticed, whether it's like when I was serving a customer, and whether I've had a thought that's popped into my head, and we'll always link that to the affirmation of the day. So I'll try and like form it to how I've learned like from something of that day and how it's linked to the affirmation, because I always find that the affirmation of the day always matches with something that I've learned that day.
Oh my gosh, that's how I felt as well. When I
isn't it so insane how it's literally always the same? I'm just thinking like how does it know? Yeah. Like, how does the journal know? Especially if I miss an entire week. Like, for example, if I'm ill or if I'm at work, I don't journal because I don't, today I went to work, like, there's not really a lot to say. But if something has happened at work and I've had an interaction with a customer that is memorable, I'll write about it. And on the days I don't journal, like, I could go a few days, right? Anytime I'll come back to it, the affirmation will still be the right one. And I'm just thinking, like, it's so crazy. It just is very intuitive. Yeah. But yeah, what about you, Molly? What are you doing?
Ooh, good question. I mean, I'm currently on my period, so honestly, kind of very similar to what Leighanne said, like just kind of trying to take it more easy. However, I really want to get back into my hobbies and just things that make me feel more happy and make me feel very much alive and more me. So I want to get back into journaling, actually, which is one thing which I'm very consistent with it for a period of time, and then I'll fall off of it and then be so inconsistent, not even do it for like 3 months, and then I'll get back onto it again, and I'll be doing it every single day, and you know what I mean, I'm very inconsistent with it. So I want to get back into my journaling. I also want to start taking my career and my YouTube channel a lot more seriously. It's really taken a back burner. Like all of my social media has really taken a back burner. I've barely been posting. It's not really been, I've not really been on it because of work and just life, and just also feeling very unmotivated, and you know what I mean, all these different internal thoughts I've been having of where do I want to take this, and it kind of puts me off actually posting. So I think just trying to be more authentic to myself and just kind of post what feels right for me, follow the career that feels right for me, follow what I want to do, basically just be a lot more in tune with myself and a lot more with myself. So yeah,
amazing.
That is what I'm going to be doing.
I love that. Leads us to the end of the episode. This is probably like one of my favorite episodes that we've ever filmed on this podcast. I just think that there is so much wisdom that's been shared. So thank you so much, Leighanne, for taking the time. Would you like to tell everybody where they can find you, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, so that anyone who's listening can go and watch your content and love you?
So my YouTube channel is SacredASMR. There's actually another ASMR artist called SacredXO ASMR, but you can, like, we look very different, so you will be able to find me. I actually don't have, like, TikTok or anything like that. I only have Instagram. So my Instagram is The Sacred Feminine, but I think it's one of the I's. The first I in feminine is a 1 instead of an I. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, everybody go follow Instagram,
subscribe,
whatever it is. Definitely the YouTube. I love the vibe of your YouTube channel so much. And if you're looking for something comforting to listen to, then Leighanne is the one. But yeah, thank you very much.
We will leave links in the description box below to our other social media platforms where you can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Contact us via our email if you would like to send us a little message. And also the links to our Spotify or YouTube, depending on where you're listening to this.
We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.